believe. I wanted to say something about Mr. Monaco. When he sent me that resignation letter, I read it, and I pictured him either being on the creeks, the Creek of Monroe Bay, with that hat on, that British style hat, and making this speech. For those that may not know, he's an historian. He was the clerk of the court of Stafford for many years. He was a delegate to Virginia. He's a lawyer. He's very smart. I so much enjoyed working with him and talking with him. And he's a very wise person. You don't ever go to an event at our fifth president's birthplace without Tom being there participating, if it's nothing more than parking cars. But he definitely is involved in history, and I know he's excited about doing this writing. And so often you see negative or negativity in resignations, and I mean, I read that resignation like 2 or 3 times as you read it. I'm so thankful that you read that, because I'm glad that we're not the only ones that saw what he said, because I thought it was heartfelt, and he was a positive impact, I think, on this town council, and I know that you're going to miss him as much as I am. But I do want to expand a little bit on our meeting when it came to the application for the boundary amendment, because that's very important, because some of you, or maybe all of you, as well as town staff, participated, as well as the public, in trying to make this happen. And I think it's important anytime that the County Board of Supervisors unanimously accepts something and approves it for the town. But I wanted to say that basically what the attachment says, just for the record, and I'll be glad to provide a copy, as well as the resolution that the county adopted for that. It says, and Jerry Davis, who's the executive director of the, so he came and gave a presentation, and you came and Dr. Sullivan made some comments about it, which is extremely important, and some of the town staff. But it says Westmoreland County Enterprise Zone 2023 Boundary Amendment Application. The purpose of the amendment requested the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development is to expand economic incentives for private investment within the Colonial Beach town boundary. The proposed amendment aims to extend the enterprise zone to areas that were identified and approved by the Colonial Beach Town Council in 2021 as the technology and tourism revitalization zones of Colonial Beach, vital to the future economic development of the town. And this zone is made up of 3 counties: Richmond County, Lancaster County, and Westmoreland County. So it's a good thing to see this extended to the town of Colonial Beach. Since Colonial Beach completed a business district revitalization project in 2016, also with the assistance of the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development, tourism and private investment have increased significantly, and I think that's extremely important, because every one of us have seen that. Not only in the business district, but also in other areas within the town boundary. Technology companies searching to locate near the Diver Naval Support Facility will take advantage of the enterprise zone incentives. Marinas and waterfront activities, restaurants, and water sports are also key attractions to visitors and residents. The town's comprehensive plan supports the development and future investment in these areas that are adjacent to the current enterprise zone. So I congratulate you for that and the work that you put in to make that happen. And I know even our residents have seen the impact that that's made on our town. And I know our businesses have seen that. So this is a good thing that you really need to be commended for. Is there any questions about anything? Yes, ma'am.
I understand that Richmond and Lancaster have to also pass a resolution to make this change. Is that?
I'm not aware of that, but
I think that's what Mr. Davis said at the meeting, that it has to be approved by all the.
Yeah, they're working on that now.
Okay.
and
So it's
you
not
could have said that, Dr.
yet.
Sullivan, but I kind of got thrown into running that meeting at the last second, and I couldn't tell you a thing anybody said there probably, because I had no idea that was going to happen, and that's actually the first meeting as the vice chairman that I've conducted it and happened. I mean, y'all were there to see it. Mr. Fisher walked in, so I turned the meeting over to Mr. Trivet, and it was like, I looked at him like, you lost your mind. He didn't even tell me, and I mean, but I think it went okay. I don't think I fell on my face or anything, but we made it happen, and I look forward to being more and more involved when I retire as well in December. to what goes on in the county, participate, in a lot of different things that I'm unable to. Also attended the meeting down there in Whitestone. I couldn't come to the parade, this one that just passed. But the executive director, Jimmy Carr, came and gave a presentation about broadband. And we hope, they're showing that sometime by March of 24 that those areas of service in Westmoreland, which it's a regional thing, it's 5 counties, there's grant money. Westmoreland County contributes $750,000 towards that project. There's a lot of underserved areas that don't have internet service. And so this is a good thing. And I hope they can get it that quick, because this has already been going on a couple of years. But they have to get right of ways, they have to put these on Dominion poles and Northern Neck poles, the fiber optics, and it's a long drawn out process, but it looks like it's going to come to be a positive thing in the next few months. I'm not sure it's going to help us.
I know, I was gonna say, 2 quick things on that. Number one is, I think the Planning District Commission needs the minutes from that meeting that you ran in order for the final application. So just, I don't know if you can go back and ask about that. And then the second thing is, if there's ever an opportunity to advocate for getting all points broadband to create competition with Breezeline here in this town, you invite me to that meeting, because anything to get competition with Breezeline, I'm about to start a pilot petition if I have to and go door to door. I'm at war with Breezeline personally, so we've got to have better service than Breezeline. The cost of Breezeline is outrageous for a family, and it's required if you have a kid in school. There's no way you can function and not have internet, and there's no competition, and they know they have us. They know it. So anyway, All Points Broadband has any interest in furthering that connection.
I think they would like to do that, but based on the money that they got and the grants, or what they're getting, they can't compete. They can only service areas where there is no service currently. But
that's
agree with
part
you
of the
on that.
grants.
I know it's very expensive and it doesn't always work right. Just like anybody that has a Verizon or any telephone services noticed recently about calls dropping and all these
I know.
crazy things that's going on.
Try running a business and you can't make a credit card transaction because your internet service is out. And it happens every day.
So hopefully, Mr. Carr, we'll see if we can't set something up maybe next year and
Can't wait.
see if we can, get their company to maybe expand that or see what it would take to make that happen. Because you're right, it's always benefits us as citizens when there's competition involved.
I'm ready to hold their feet to the fire.
Anything else?
I also think that having broadband service to the rest of the county where there is none is going to benefit Columbia Beach. Because we're going to bring more citizens in, more opportunities, more businesses, and we're the place that they come and spend their time for shopping and entertainment. So even though we may not get it right here, right now, it's going to impact us in a positive way.
Well, I'll tell you something, one other thing that I want to mention too, because our county attorney brought it to the attention of the board about all these data centers. And they evidently use a lot of water. And they're talking about, I know they're approving one in Spotsylvania, maybe Culpeper, King George is looking, and a lot of them are talking about drawing water from the Rappahannock. Upwards of 6 million gallons a day is what they're saying. And there's a lot of concern about that, but, I'm not much about speaking on it, even it's public is the only reason I would say anything, because, I'm not much in speaking about what other counties' business is. But I have to agree that it could actually impact our county, because we're part of that river too. So, so it's something that you're going to be reading about here soon, probably, and seeing public hearings on it, and hopefully, obviously DEQ, the impact studies and everything. I'm sure that they'll look at all that environmental stuff when it takes to bring these data. It doesn't take a lot of people to do it, but it takes a lot of water to cool it from understanding, a lot of power. So that's something you're going to see, because it brings lots of money too to the counties that are putting these centers in. Millions of tax money comes as a result of that, but you got to also look at what the damage could cause as well. So it doesn't mean that somebody might have come to Westmoreland County and put one in. So then we'll have to deal with that when it comes. So any other questions from anybody about anything? Good seeing you. Look forward to seeing you at trunk or treat. when that helicopter lands, stay away from it. For those of you that know that were there, you know, and I was standing, I go to a lot of these landing zones being under the fire department, and I kind of had my back to it because, you know, it throws things as it gets wound up. And this lady walked behind me and was walking out to the helicopter when they were getting ready to take off. And I don't know if y'all saw her or not with her camera. But, and it was like, I just caught her a glimpse of mine and I said, man, what are you doing? And she's, I'm getting a picture. And, you know, she's not even thinking, but that happens frequently where people flock to that thing because they just, it is amazing. It's something to see. So, until you get that $35,000 bill for flying in it, then you might not want to ever see another helicopter. So, but anyway, thank you. Good seeing you as always.
Thank you. Dr. Mitchell.
All right, good evening, Madam Mayor, town council members, and everyone in the audience. Just a couple of things. As we heard earlier, I know we've been giving a lot of flowers that's well deserved for Sergeant Wright. On behalf of the school board, I also want to thank her for really her efforts for National Night Out. I also want to thank Dorothy Wright, in relation to Sergeant Wright, who was my director of federal programs, who really always think outside the box to try to figure out ways to support any program. And so we were able to work with Sergeant Wright to get the thing that she needed to really make it successful. So I want to thank Dorothy for that. I want to say congratulations to two of our students. At the elementary level, Mr. Mackenzie Jones and Miss Vanessa Alicia. They both will be, well, they were selected as the two student reps on the school board. And so this is the second year in a row we've asked the high school student and elementary student to be part of the school board. So congratulations to both of them. A couple of updates regarding capital improvement. For those of you who've been in this stuff for a long time, one of the things that we struggle with during the winter months is power outages, and that has a significant impact on our food supply in terms of the cafeteria at high school. And so we are working right now, trying to collect some bids to try to install a generator at the high school. We do have one at the elementary school. I tried to move the timeline up a little bit because the winter months are coming, so we're meeting with some contractors hopefully this week or early next week to get some pricing. As you know, last year we received the school safety and security grant from VDOE, and we were able to install a new weapons detection system in our district about a year ago. We did apply for the grant a second time, and we are hoping to hear from them relatively soon. But in the interim, we are also looking at installing, just for safety purposes, getting some quotes to install some video entry at both the elementary and high school. Right now, when you go to the elementary school and you ring the bell to come in, the secretaries really can't see who's out there. So we want to find the mechanism to be able to see who's ringing the bell as they're trying to enter our premises. Super excited. Our teachers who are coming from the Philippines, we have 3 teachers coming from the Philippines who will be joining us at the end of October, hopefully first week of November. We put out some information to our staff, but I also want to extend it to the general community, also in terms of trying to support and make sure that they're successful. In my earlier life as a principal, when I first started back in 2003 as a principal, I was part of a program where we hired teachers through what they call visiting international faculty of North Carolina, and we recruit teachers all over the world. And the biggest thing is making sure you set them up for success, and that is to make sure that when they arrive, you have someone that can take them around, get your security cards, DMV, et cetera, et cetera. We have housing set up, but if we have anyone with some lightly good condition furniture to furnish the new property, if anyone would like to donate, please call the school board office. Dr. Addo and I today went to pick up several pieces of furniture to outfit that room, but we want to make sure that they're successful. So if anyone have anything they would like to donate, please call the school office at 804-224-0906. This week is homecoming week. Thank you, both to the mayor and of course, Councilman Wood for being present at the, and also Vicky, yes, Councilwoman Robertson for being present at the homecoming parade. The game is on Friday, and of course on Saturday we have the homecoming dance. And lastly, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, band, and everyone who really, and all the businesses. It was really a tremendous sight to walk in the elementary cafeteria, to see the gym filled with businesses across town, even some businesses outside of town, coming in to give our young children the opportunity to interact and interface with people in a prospective field that they may be interested in. So it was a huge success, and we hope that we can do the same thing in the spring to allow those businesses to come back again. And one of the ideas that came out was, could we try to do it a little bit earlier in the day and rotate every single high school class through the different centers, and hopefully working with the team, we can look at something along the line for next year in the spring. That's all I have. Any questions for me?
Mr. Wood.
Just have a quick compliment for you. Having the opportunity to meet the students again, and thank you for that opportunity, because it really, it makes you feel as if you're making a difference. And to see the number of children, especially young women, who are interested in sciences and in computer sciences, you are helping to build the foundation of the community that is going to be the future leadership of this. And it's not until you look in those kids' eyes and you realize the impact that you and your staff are making. And I personally want to thank you for making this more viable, to bring business into town, and to make our streets safer, because the kids are learning to crack books, not crack cans. So thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for coming out. We'll share that with both Mrs. Coton and Mr. Lush at the high school.
I'm gonna give a little shout out. My son won the Drifter Pride Award.
All right.
I'm really proud mom for it. I'm really proud mom for it. He wasn't there at the assembly today because he's sick right now at my house. So, anyway, though, but that Drifter Pride, recognition in general to those kids means a lot to them, and it really is a wonderful incentive program, and Ms. Costas just does a fantastic job.
Thank you.
And it makes a lot of really proud parents.
Well, congratulations to your son, and I'm glad that he received the award. But yes, Ms. Coates, Ms. Taylor, the entire elementary team, they do a phenomenal job. I have nothing to do with that. I was there before me. It's always great going to see that in action and participate in the process. So I will make sure I share that with them. Anything else for me?
Just one thing. Just to reiterate that it's homecoming this Friday, the game. The community should come out and support these kids. It's going to be a very hard game. If the kids can have the extra yelling, screaming, all that kind of stuff,
Essex is undefeated.
and we will have food. More than likely, I will be cooking. My wife makes me cook. But definitely come out, support the kids. It's a great time. Whether they win or lose, they always fight hard, and they have a great coaching staff to help them along. So you need your first.
All right. And also, big shout out to our volleyball team. I know they're in playoffs, so we hope they can move along in playoff season. So kudos to, of course, one of your own, Nisha, who's coaching the volleyball team.
Third.
All right.
Next up is public comment. I know we have the vacancy for the council in a closed session, but I personally called every person who applied and invited them to the meeting tonight. And so, if any of the applicants would like to introduce yourself to the community so that they can get to know that who you are, ahead of that, then I certainly welcome you to do so. You do not have to, if you feel comfortable to do that, but, I just send that invitation ahead of this public comment, so that there's an opportunity to say something in public. Before we start, you get 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes, and I think there's a sign up list. And if you haven't signed up, that's totally fine. You can still come up once we're done with the people who signed up. Okay?
All right, so first sign up is Mr. Tommy Edwards.
Mr. Mayor, may I say,
Sure, you're definitely good. Okay.
Ms. Mayor and Council, my name is Tommy Edwards. I live on Sussex Street. I'm here on behalf of representing the VFW tonight to remind everybody that November the 11th will be Veterans Day, and our service will be that day. Yours truly, I've been asked by Commander Bruce Longley to take care of the service for them. Couldn't turn them down. But anyway, I want to recommendation to everybody at 11 o'clock, please. If you don't know where the cannon is, you shouldn't be in this room. You should know where it's at. It's 11 o'clock. They will. If you don't know where the VFW is, you could call Heather and she'll tell everybody. You're okay with that. Thanks. Not where to go, but be there. But anyway, we're only a block away from where the service is located. We're across from that new great restaurant that's in town. That's doing wonderful. But anyway, if you have any questions that day, don't come up to me. You can see somebody else or another member of the VFW, and they'll answer your question. But please, thank you so much. And Ms. Mayor, I, of course, would like for you to be on the stage for a few comments.
I keep it brief, don't worry.
And also council, if you're going to be there, if you see me, let me know you're there, because I'd like to pay homage. I'm sure you won't have no bottles thrown at you or anything else. But anyway, thank you, Ms. Mayor, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next is Bill Taylor.
Well, good evening, Town Council, Town Hall, townspeople. My name's Bill Taylor. I live on 11th Street and I drive a trash truck in town. This is not actually an official report of the toter project that we've been doing. This is more like an unofficial official report of the toter program. The toter program is finally starting to slow down, winding down, and if you look around, this town's looking up. By my observation, since returning to the truck after operation, I noticed approximately 85%, that's a ballpark figure, of the residents in town have acknowledged the new revision of the Chapter 12 code. I mean, by driving down the streets, you take a drive around town, you notice that there's not heaps of trash laying up all over these beautiful containers. Everybody's pretty self-contained. We don't see a herd of buzzards walking around the streets or a murder of crows trying to pick everything out of those bags that just didn't fit in all the cans. And I even found out that some of the people who were kind of against the program have kind of turned their head a little bit and said, you know, things are looking pretty good. They look down their street and they see a row of all these uniform cans kind of cleaned up and around, and we kind of notice that there's a unity in the community with these cans. So with that, October 30th is our deadline for our stenciling program for the toters that homeowners wanted to have an additional tote, and they had a great one. So we put down the CBPW stencil with them after we filled out the forms. It's been handed out to Adam, and he in turn hands it to me, and I in turn hand it to my arbologists at the end of our run, so they can go out and they clean the sides of the totes and they do a nice spray job. But we are having a little difficulty trying to get access to these totes. Some folks who have filled out the form, we have kind of forgot to let them set out for the guys to have access to. So we're kind of asking everybody here, and if you're listening at home, that if you had a form filled out for toter labeling or stenciling, just please have your toter out the day of the trash can, guys will get to it as soon as possible. And now, one question I had to ask town council, there's been a little confusion. You know, at the beginning of the program, we were going to just grab the totes of the homeowners and stencil. We found we couldn't do that, so there was going to be totally no stenciling. So then all of a sudden, we're stenciling again with form. Oh, my guys are kind of confused with the fee. At first, we thought we heard from town council that the toter that individuals wanted stenciled would be free until the useful life of their tote, and then the town tote would be replacing it. However, now we're also having to tell the residents that there's a $7.50 quarterly charge on each additional toter that homeowners have. That's the confusion. I'd like to hear tonight, so I can go back and tell Ricky and Matt, our apologists, exactly what to tell the residents when the residents come out and said, "Oh, we didn't know there was going to be a fee for this. We thought it wasn't going to be a charge." So if I could get an answer tonight, and I tell my guys tomorrow, but we're looking at the beginning of November. We hope to have October 1st as a setup for following the code, chapter 12 revisions, having only a town toter and a stencil toter available, no anything else, no pick up the ground or anything, but
So you might start to run out of time, so just quickly, I believe that everybody gets a Colonial Beach official toter, and everybody pays the initial fee of that one single toter, and that the stenciling is an additional toter and there's no fee attached to it.
okay, there's no additional fee.
There is no additional fee to a stencil toter, but a stencil toter is secondary to the primary.
Exactly.
Well, that was the direction of council.
That was.
That was definitely the direction of council.
So if I may, Madam Mayor, so at the last time where we discussed, the toters, and we came about with, the forms, because there were some, citizens who wanted the stenciling. So what we discussed at that meeting is that for the people who wanted the additional toters, there would be no fee to stencil, those toters. But because everybody who wants a second toter has to pay the second 50 fee, that it wouldn't be fair for those people to have that second toter. So,
Discussed by council.
well, that's what was said during that meeting. So if
With what?
that isn't correct, no, council meeting.
No, that's not what was said.
No.
It was made very clear that our original ordinance said that an additional toter, if you got an extra toter and you want to use it, we'll stencil it, that'll make it legal to use. There's no charge for that toter for the life of that existing toter.
That is correct.
Yeah.
That is correct.
That's my question is answered.
We don't normally respond to the public comment. I
Yeah.
don't want to set a precedent for that though.
Okay.
But, because that clarification is so drastically different, I'm just gonna set the record.
Well, then, I would just like to say, if there is confusion around that, then that is, I know that that is what I said at council meeting. And so I am the one who's saying that because we did have that discussion. So now that that has been cleared up and it has been spoken from the dais, you have
Is that
that, and so, yeah.
All
Okay, great.
understand? Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I know that, that's what I said, so I just wanted to make it clear that I am the one who made that
Thanks, God.
comment.
All right.
Go forth and tell her no more.
Okay, next up.
Sandy Roadheaver. Did I say it right?
I'm here because I'm worried about safety. And I know you know about it, Robin, the incident that happened on Lincoln Avenue. And it was on the 6th of the month, I believe. It was like 2 in the morning. There's an I live on Lincoln also. And the incident was like right across the street from where I live. So that's why I'm worried about it. And the lady that lives there called the police like 2 in the morning. And she waited and waited and waited. And no one ever came. And what happened is somebody was banging her door down, a glass door on the front, and trying to break open the door and couldn't. And I guess finally gave up. And they weren't anywhere around it. She didn't know that. So she sat there by herself. She lived by herself, scared to death, and nothing happened. So she was up all night, kind of looking out, waiting, looking out. Nothing happened. So the next morning, she called the police station to make sure they got the call, they got it. But she couldn't get an answer why no one was sent out. She called Westmoreland County, and it seemed like the call had been logged. So they didn't send anybody. She was all alone. I know she's been in contact with you, and she's very upset about the situation. I know you're trying to, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that that happened. It's terrible, and it scares me. A police officer came to her house that morning, and I happened to be there. I wanted to make sure she was okay. And they told her, the one officer told her that they had only had one officer on duty. Since then, I've heard there's 2. I don't know what the correct answer is. And I know there was another incident, I heard that too, but still, is it that we don't have enough police officers in town? I mean, I don't know what the answer is, but I think Reardon County should know what happened. And it's very scary when you live alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Just so people know what happened, 3 people called about a singular incident and the person was apprehended in 10 minutes. But the response to the individual did not happen because of a communication error in dispatch, but we are meeting with her next Friday. Thank you.
Next is Wayne, the Rosie area.
Sorry.
Rosario.
Everybody knows Mike.
You're not the Lothario, are you?
Is this where we present our Madam Mayor, members of council? Can you hear me okay?
I don't think it's on.
Should just slide it up.
Forward.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Madam Mayor, members of council, it is an honor and privilege that I stand before you today to ask you to consider my application, email application for the vacant position for the town council. As some of you know, that I have many years of town council and board supervisor experience, and I would ask you to consider me for the vacant position. Years ago, when I was on the council, I helped get the, I guess it is the shoreline beachfront restoration project, which was $1.5 million project, completed to restore the beachfront. And also, we came to get the, the high school unbonding pledge school that has never been emulated again. in the United States of America back in the 80s. We're proud of that. That was under when I was mayor. And on the board of supervisors, when I got elected, I got the board to do the funding for the school and bring back $1 million. And also annex the new, I guess it is I'm trying to say is the shopping center where the town had just provided water and sewer to them. My other taxes and revenues that we did an annex part of Westmoreland County to bring in revenues and whatnot. I think the town is on the right path, and I'm excited about the town. I certainly like to be a part of that. And I appreciate the town and my application for the vacant position. I thank you for your time this evening. I wish y'all a good evening.
Thank you.
Anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask?
We won't take any questions of public comment, but thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I have 3 comments that were emailed in. Do you want to finish with?
Yeah, let's do this first. Everybody in person first. Anybody else? Welcome. Bye.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members. Let me briefly introduce myself. Some of you all look familiar and some of you don't. I'm Krista Brown. I live at Bayfront Avenue. I applied for the position of the vacant open seat at town council. I wanted to introduce myself to you all, so a little bit more about me. I've been vacationing in Colonial Beach since 2007. I always came here by boat. My first time driving here was when I bought a house in 2013. Husband and I moved here full time. I've been here for 4 years now. Always had a connection to this town. Love it because of the water, the history. I could go on and on, but we all agree on that. A little bit of background. I graduated from the University of Maryland in criminal justice. Went to Johns Hopkins University for a major in government and politics, with concentration in terrorism and homeland security. I served federal law enforcement for 20 years. I recently retired a year ago. I'm now back in the government contracting world and working on emergency management for our federal support system across the United States. I would love this position for many reasons. One, because I love the town. 2, I think I would bring a really brand new perspective. I'm not from here. I don't have any skin in the game. I just like living here. My parents followed me here, built a home here. Yes, unfortunately, my husband, his in-laws live 2 blocks down from us now. And then my little sister moved here, and she now teaches at Colonial Beach Elementary. So I have a kind of a different perspective, and I hope that you will take application consideration, a new face, but I have a lot invested in this town. So thank you for your time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Michelle Collins Robinson, and I think it's awesome that we have candidates to apply for a government position, a town government position. I will be here 2 years in March, but when I first arrived, I jumped in with both feet. In order for me to get to know a town, I had to volunteer. So when I was out of work for a short amount of time, I volunteered for Guadalupe Clinic. So therefore, I had an opportunity to get to know some of the constituents and some of the problems and some of the issues and some of the great things. I would like to be an advocate, and I have already been an advocate for those who do not show up to the meetings, those who do not show up, that kind of look like me. I have reached out to the police to get to know them because that's part of being a good community citizen. I have reached out to town council because that is part of being a good community citizen. I am currently working as an analyst, and as an analyst, you have to sit back and listen. So that means I have a spirit of listening and coming up with a solution. But most important is listening and getting to know the people. And as I mentioned before, when I came into this town, I jumped in with both feet. I joined a church, the oldest church, not really joined. I committed myself to the church, the oldest church in this town, a church that was established before the town was incorporated. I jumped in with both feet. I started to ask them questions, and I wanted to make sure they felt comfortable in being in a room like this. I wanted to make sure that everyone is comfortable, regardless of race, religion, sexual orientation, and just being a human being. And I think that is what I can bring to the town council. Thank you for your consideration.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. My name is Tom Larson. I know some of you socialized with a few of you. My wife and Mary live about a mile from here up on the far end of Washington. From the first time we visited Colonial Beach in 2015, the town just charmed us. Within a few months, we purchased a home and we've been here ever since. And this is not an uncommon story. Colonial Beach is a wonderful, quirky little town. Has so much to offer and so much potential. So why am I interested in this open seat on the town council? Well, the answer is pretty simple. I mean, I love this town. I really do. I assume everybody in this room feels the same way. This is an opportunity to serve, to work with this group, to support the town and its residents. I have a wide and varied set of experiences that I can bring to the role. Basically, I think I can be useful. So here's a little bit more about me. The first thing you need to know is that I don't come to this with an agenda. And I mean that. Right. Am I aware of opportunities for improvement in Colonial Beach? Of course, right. They're all around us. But I don't yet have strong opinions on which ones should be top priorities. However, if appointed, I will roll up my sleeves, do my homework, and become a productive member of this team. I'm a creative problem solver. It's the common thread throughout my professional career. I was born a systems thinker. It's just how I'm wired. I can't help it. It's not really an IT thing, although I won't lie to you, it's been a big help in my profession. I believe that having more wiring is useful in small town government, where choices to invest taxpayer dollars here require choices not to invest them there. Right? I've managed large projects with multi-million-dollar budgets. You all have my resume and my cover letter already. See more about that there. I'm a strong believer in the idea of meritocracy. To me, good ideas can come from anywhere. Right? I'm outcome focused. I don't care if my idea or anyone else's is the one that gets the best outcome. I've been told countless times in my personal and professional life, I'm a great listener, and the idea of meritocracy requires hearing and considering other points of view. I've done that throughout my life, and I will do that in this role if you see fit to ask me to serve. I've spent most of the last decade in my professional career in consulting roles, often in support of sales, and that experience has honed my listening, collaboration, and writing, and storytelling skills. I know that I can put those skills to good use as we work with the residents of the town and commissions to share and refine the council's vision and plans. I know this group will make the best decision for the town. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
So hello again. I'm still Bill, and I brought my application and my resume to town council for the opening seat, mainly because I wanted to be a part of the community. We moved here in 2007 with my wife Becky on 11th Street. I was a tractor trailer driver up until 2015 when I retired from over the road. And during that time, while I was away from the road, my wife needed some assistance a lot with public works, with the police department, and with general neighbors. So to give back to the community that helped my wife while I was gone for so much was what I wanted to give back. Luckily, I was able to secure a job with Public Works as a trash truck driver. And I know that possibly I might be disqualified for conflict of interest for being a town employee, but I still love this town. I get a chance to see a lot of residents, and talk trash over trash cans, and we can pick up a lot of issues that go on in town. And we take notes, and I always have my notebook when somebody says something, I just try to solve an answer. So that's why I applied, and think of me, and I play well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public comment? Yeah, come on.
They signed up for guy at lady because I went to the town center and the one was there. And I come in with the police and Sergeant White, she didn't know either, so well, I made a phone call and yeah, I am.
So it's good when you, the police bring you to the meeting.
Okay, you know. Larry Henson, in Montrose, 53, he's one volunteer, being in Montrose, well, Bike Fest. It's always my big plan of the year, and, I was the board supervisor meeting, and to far right of me is the town council, they should come with the Chamber of Commerce, was the person in charge of getting up the Bike Fest. And then came over the assistant, town manager came over and introduced herself as well, and give her a call. So we're gonna set up a time frame for Chamber of Commerce and see if we can get some dates, so it doesn't rain. So we have a Bike Fest. I'd like to have it like in August. Mid-August, late August, sometimes it's warm then. I'm a biker, I can ride in warm weather. I do like to dress up with leathers and jackets and gloves. It's the whole purpose of riding a motorcycle. You ride a motorcycle, riding a boat, you're comfortable, you know, it's free like a bird, you know? That's what I want to do. So I hope we have success with the Chamber of Commerce as well. And I'll give you a call and see if we can help you with those folks. Appreciate it. So that's all I have to say about that, you know. Big person involved in Bike Fest, so sorry to have the rain and hope we can total disaster. But hey, we always need rain. Thank you all for that. So all light. Thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Loretta? Okay, all right, we have 3 emailed ones, and I think 1 or 2 of them have to say.
Yeah. All right, first one's from Mr. Kelly. He writes, Dear Mayorship and council members, first quarter financial report. I reviewed the slides for the first quarter financial report, and I hope that Lisa Oates will complete her report with a narrative so that we can all understand what the figures are telling us. General fund expenses exceeded revenue by $1,061,722. Is this a timing issue or is there a problem on the income side? In the future, a year-to-year comparison of these figures would be extremely helpful in understanding how we're doing. A critical piece of information continues to be missing for both the sewer fund and the water fund slides. That information is the cash balance in the sewer fund and the cash balance in the water fund at the end of the quarter. There should be several $1 million in each. Short-term rental regulation comments. I have reviewed the proposed short-term rental regulations again and offer the following comments. I feel like I'm back in Fairfax County with excessive over-regulation and bureaucratic nonsense. These regulations give the zoning administrator the authority to put an owner out of business. The BZA should be the arbiter of fact on this issue, not a staff person. Please remember that the legislative goal was to get a handle on how many short-term rental operations we have in town, not the nonsense and proposed regulations. Central Drainage Project. I know the Central Drainage Project is not on the agenda, but it should be. Asphalt mill work is currently scheduled for the week of October 23rd. That puts the project on track to be completed by the end of October. Hooray for all involved. I strongly recommend that the town council have a lessons learned and the areas of concern debriefing with the contractor while they're in town. If you don't, you'll look negligent when the next water or sewer problem happens. We know there were several addition and deletion change orders provoked for a variety of reasons. It's imperative that town council understand why they happen and what the implications are in the future. Thanks for your consideration of my comments, Jacob. Next one's from Mr. Will Knuckles. He sent in a lot, so I'm just gonna read as it came in. This item related to the pending topic of efforts afoot to consider changing the Florida area ratio in the town of Colonial Beach. While I will later be addressing a number of specifics relating to the considering of changing the FAR and R2 areas of town, tonight I will be making broader comments about the process I've seen thus far. It appears that the FAR discussion is happening in a void disconnected from the broader topics of sustainability and especially the subset of topics related to impacts on health and safety, relating to stormwater conveyance, and the related topic of impacts to an already challenged public sewer system. On a related note, which this topic seems appropriately connected to the topic of the town's sustainability plan, I have thus far been able to secure any meaningful information on the status of that effort. An inquiry to Mr. Revere dating back to July 14, 2023 remains lacking a response, and as such, I have flagged this as FOIA request to Heather Oliver. Public disclose of the progress and potential additional needs of the town's sustainability plan are key components to the related topic of changing the FAR, and I hope you will join my efforts to connect those two topics. I will be engaging more on specifics relating to any changes to the FAR on another date, but it seems to me that getting the information we potentially have already paid for on the table for consideration is a meaningful place to start. On a related note, it would be good for town council to encourage membership on the resilience committee. Once it was reconstituted as an ad hoc committee, no meetings have occurred, and all indications are that there are no longer any officials on that committee. Sincerely, Will Knuckles. And then this is, I am submitting the following and resubmitting the written comments I made for the September 20th, 2023 town council meeting, which were transmitted to all town council members, but which were not read into the record. Today, I am first highlighting what appears to be unresolved conflicts of interest problems for multiple town council members for both the topic of short-term rental regulations and now also the topic of consideration of changing the Florida area ratio, also known as the FAR. While it is obvious that multiple council members own and receive income from short-term rentals in Colonial Beach, thus far, none have recused themselves from the participation on this topic. And now it appears that at least one council member would have an interest in the pending topic of changing the FAR calculations due to both a client relationship with businesses seeking to increase the FAR and apparently also relating to a property owned which may currently be out of compliance with existing FAR standards. As before, I will reiterate that Virginia state law, specifically the State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, speaks to the requirement for maintaining the highest trust in their public officers and employees, finds and declares that the citizens are entitled to be assured that the judgment of public officers and employees, and prohibits inappropriate conflicts and requires disclosure of economic interests. I'm also submitting for the record the mayor's response to the topic of conflict of interest problems that these topics pose for town council members. An excerpt includes council members speak from the personal experience, which is generally helpful to creating policy to have diverse experiences and interests presented in discussion. I contend that the usefulness of a member's experience is insufficient justification for avoiding ethical dilemmas posed by using any member's office to impact the crafting of any regulation for which presents whether a direct economic conflict of interest or creates the appearance of a conflict of interest with the matter at hand. This includes directing parliamentary process, questioning of staff in ways not available to the public, discussing the topic beyond the 3-minute time frame available to members of the public, and other manners that are solely available to a member due to their position as a government official. The recusal does not relate solely to the recusal from the final vote. To restate what I hope would be obvious to anyone who has studied ethical guidance or received ethics training as a public official, the utility of a member's participation is not germane when examining ethical conflicts in Virginia. I was further surprised to see an additional part of the response which continued, in some ways, all elected officials hold an economic interest in some form or another in all topics as taxpaying citizens. In my experience, even on specific issues, this has not forced council members to be removed from the dais to speak on any issue. And time's up for that one. And then the final one is from Miss Kelly Vaughn. Okay, she says, Madam Mayor, Schick, Town Council members, short-term rental regulation and comments. Rereading the proposed short-term rental regulation again, I am very concerned that there has not been more information gathered. Many towns across the country are relooking at the impact short-term rentals are having on the community, tourism, and lack of housing. Some locals have revoked short-term rentals for the impact on small businesses, as in inns, hotels, and B&Bs. Not enough housing for residents, and other locales have limited the amount of short-term rentals because it has gotten out of hand. The recommendations are quite disturbing, and I agree with Mr. Joe Kelly in that there is excessive regulation being added, which is unnecessary. The zoning administrator will be given the ability to put someone out of business which should not or ever be under that office. The recommendations from the EDC and committee that were presented have been ignored. The purpose of this was to get a true count of short-term rentals and capture revenue and taxes. For the central drainage project, my hat goes off to Mr. Michael Dempster and Sagres Construction. He has been incredibly professional and communicative. And been communicative in the process of this project. This project has not only impacted access to the Riverview Inn, but also access to our parking lot during the tourism season. I hope that the town and town council have a lessons learned, as in debrief with Sagres Construction and all other contractors and parties involved. Town residents and businesses need to understand the impact, progress, and future work of any future sewer and water projects. There also needs to be an understanding of what was changed, amended, and not completed during this project. The opportunity for the town Department of Public Works to build a trusted relationship with the impacted residents and businesses never came to fruition. The weekly email and posting on the website, well, I will give you, it was something, missed the mark. Daily, we saw and spoke with Michael and were updated as to what to expect, when it would happen, and how to mitigate during a busy tourism season. Not once did anyone from the town or Department of Public Works stop in and ask if we needed anything, had any questions or concerns. A very missed opportunity. Town employees, you are a public servant, you are a representative of the town. Your role is to adapt policies and services based on the current needs of the community. To be collaborative, the residents and businesses provide you with your salary and your job. Think about that for a moment. Town council, you have been elected by the people of Colonial Beach to represent those people and to govern and manage with the best interest of those people. Think about that for a moment. Your actions and decisions are affecting everyone today, residents, businesses, and future community. Thank you. And that is it.
Is that all?
That's all.
So proud to do this job. Okay. All right, so we're gonna move forward to old business, which is to start with ordinance number 748, short-term rental, which we discussed, and the public hearing was held on September 20th. I want to go ahead and clarify that there's absolutely nothing to hide, and that there is no reason to refuse or abstain just because I own a short-term rental. So I'm gonna quote the section, the voice section 2.2, 3112, B1 and B3 apply according to our attorney and the attorney for the Ethics Council of the state of Virginia. In the exception, I'm going to disclose that I have a short-term rental. It is behind my office at 106 Irving Avenue, and it is how I can pay to have an actual building and operate my business and pay the mortgage on my building. So I'm very grateful to have a short-term rental there and be able to afford to do that. I also have a very tiny houseboat which operates off the grid and is a pretty cool place in case you haven't been there. And both of those short-term rentals are run under an LLC called Sunny Downtown, and all of that is on my statement of economic interest. And my life is not that exciting, and I have absolutely nothing to hide. So I just want to make sure that all of that is clear, and that I have no intention to be nothing but fair, honest, equitable, open-minded, and serve the citizens of Clinton Beach in any discussion points with this. And so I just want to make that point as well. In doing all of that, I still am, just to make sure there's no confusion about it, absolutely fine with not voting on this issue. And so I will abstain from the vote tonight, but I will run the discussion on the topic and run the vote. But I will abstain for that reason, but it's not because there is an actual ethic violation. I just had Conflict of Interest Act training and FOIA training and asked these specific questions. So just want to make sure there's confidence in the community, that those things are being adhered to, that those things are being considered, and that there is a trust and goodwill in that my service to all of you who I love dearly. Okay, so with that, we held public comment. Is does council have any further discussion on this?
Would you have a motion, Madam Mayor, just to open for discussion?
You are welcome to begin with the motion.
So I would move that we approve the short-term rental ordinance and regulations as presented in our packet.
Okay, do I have a second to that?
Madam Mayor, for the council votes, there were a couple spaces or on the ordinance that directed the council to determine which option that you'd like to incorporate within the ordinance. The first one was with regard to the age of the principal guest who can rent a short-term rental. The amount is in section B 10, subsection C, and then B10 subsection E, which had to do with the creation or having special event event venues for hosting gatherings, whether or not the commission wanted to allow them if they, as a matter of right for hosting an STR unit, or if the council wanted to allow event venues so long as that the number of guests did not exceed the maximum occupancy for the STR unit. Those were the two decision points that I want to bring to your attention before you take a decision.
I'm going to package it after so making a motion that.
Okay, so if I could ask council if it's related to other legal issues, the age of 18 or 21 is appropriate. I'm asking that of council.
Oh, you're asking me. Yeah, I thought you meant council up there. I think either one you can choose. It's up to you. I'm not aware of anything, but I haven't researched this either.
I know that
18-year-old.
most short-term rental owners set their own standard on that. And I think do the short-term rental companies have a standard like the car rental companies have of being
I don't know, I knew I
certain
could rent a room at 18. I don't know if I should publicly disclose that, but I just did.
Or you should publicly.
I don't.
So,
Like I said, I got nothing to happen,
for the
so.
purpose of the motion, I would do it option 1 under C of 18.
Okay.
And option 2 of requiring some sort of, I'm not sure exactly what you're trying to say here, but I'm assuming that if you're gonna have an event or venue that exceeds the maximum number of participants permitted under the SDR, that you gotta do that elsewhere, basically, and you gotta rent a venue. Is that what you're saying? You can't do it in the SDR?
What we're saying is that under option 2 is that you can have a special gatherings, like a wedding reception or weddings, that would exceed the number of anticipated guests that would ordinarily be able to rent it, the SDR unit, so long as they don't exceed the occupancy for the SDR unit.
Yeah, I'm with you, Karen, on option 2.
Yeah, I'm just not sure the
Yeah.
difference, and I think option one says creation of an event.
Point of order. So to her point, she's gonna put a motion on the table. If it gets a seconded, then it will go to discussion. The motion can then be amended or reduced or fail. And then you have a second motion to come up to that point. So she's just trying to create a point of discussion. Okay?
So option one, under item E, creation of an event venue or hosting special gatherings is not permitted. Option two, creation of an event venue or hosting special gatherings, which would include a greater number of participants and guests than the permitted maximum occupancy of the SDR is not permitted. So that tells me if you can have 12 people in this house, then you can have that special event as long as it doesn't exceed 12 people.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So that's why I'm going with option two in my motion to approve. And are those the only two things I needed to clarify?
Yes.
So that is my motion.
Okay, to Karen's motion, is there a second to that?
So we can have a discussion also.
Perfect, sounds good. All right, now we're in a discussion point. Go ahead.
My only quibble with it would be, I would prefer to see 21 as opposed to 18, but that's not across the dial, quite frankly.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got I'd just like to clarify, I'm fine with 21 or 18, but what I'd like to clarify is the events thing. Like, I've got mixed feelings about that. I don't really necessarily think that, it's a good idea to have events in neighborhoods without, some kind of regulation. But say, for example, you have a large home that would accommodate special events, big yard, not really interrupting the neighbors. Could you potentially apply for a conditional use permit on that property to make it available for bigger events? Or
The way
would this ordinance regulate, okay, no more than, if you have, say, 5 bedrooms, no more than 12 people ever in an event for that?
Correct. To answer your question, there's not a conditional use permit process for this. Option 2 allows you to exceed the maximum number of guests that would ordinarily be permitted by the maximum occupancy for a special venue.
It allows for that?
Yes, sir, under option 2. So it would include a greater number of participants and guests than permitted maximum occupancy in the SDR.
But then it says it's not permitted.
That is permitted,
That's what I thought it was.
Yeah, it's like permitted and then not permitted.
which would,
Yes,
this
Mr.
would,
Mack.
this would
I
include,
can clarify that. What it means is you can have a special event that allows more than the occupancy for the event. However, the people staying overnight is only the number of people that can stay at the residence. So the event can be bigger, but they can't all stay there.
That's not what this says, though.
Well, that was the intent.
yeah,
That was the intent.
that was the intent of the I agree.
Okay.
I apologize if this is rereading this is a little bit off. I agree.
All right, Mr. Allison?
So if I had a short-term rental, how would I regulate this? If a visitor came, rented the house, and they had a wedding there without my knowledge, how would I regulate that?
I think that becomes up to the host of the STR unit to clarify that information before they rent it. They're certainly going to have a copy of all the provisions of the STR unit so they understand what it is that they can and can't do. It ultimately becomes a responsibility of the host of it to enforce the requirements. Otherwise, if there's a potential violation that could go against them, if it was validated through code enforcement request.
How does the host regulate that? Is my point.
Through the rental companies.
How many times have you gone somewhere and did something you're not supposed to do and not tell anybody?
But there is recourse that the host has through whatever agency they use to rent. So if they use VRBO or Airbnb, you report it back to them. And they can back you up for getting the people over there early, no refunds. They can also go on their record so that they can't pay that elsewhere.
You're also assuming you're using Airbnb or
Well, yeah,
VRBO. So
that's your
they're not-
choice as a host. If you want that protection, you can use a third party.
Okay, how do we feel? I'm just gonna tackle, option one or option two, 18 or 21, and I just kind of want a quick gauge, because I see Mr. Wood saying 21, he feels more comfortable with
I agree with that.
21, she says 21. I can live with 21. She can live with it, we're not really,
I see.
he says 18, okay, so I'm seeing more consensus for 21, so we'll amend the motion to say 21. So amended, okay?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, Ms. Odo was wanting to say something with regard to this discussion, if you may.
Heather?
Darla, unmute.
Oh, Darla's on the,
On Zoom.
Yes.
oh, okay, I didn't hear that.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of council, I wasn't sure that you all were hearing me. I was trying to jump in, and I apologize for the interruption, but I thought that I would try to provide some clarity relative to the option regarding the, special event, if it happens. Basically, you have the two options. One is special gatherings or events are not permitted, period. So that means at a short-term rental, no one could, get married, have a birthday party, whatever. Yet the option two would say, you can have that. But if you do so, it must be limited still to the maximum occupancy of that dwelling. If you're planning to do something there that exceeds the occupancy of the short-term rental, it would not be permitted.
That's how it reads, Darla.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to provide that clarity. And see and I'm here if you have any questions.
I understand your point, Mr. Mack, and we can make an alteration to it if that's the consensus of council, but that is how it reads, how she just explained it. Okay, so we think we've got an amendment to the 21 that has a motion and it's got a second. Did somebody second that?
Second.
Okay, so now it's at 21 on the top one. So I'm just trying to administratively get through this. So option one or option two,
And I can see, if I can speak to
Yes.
the reasoning, I had chosen option two because it does allow, if you have a large, STR, and I've seen, for example, I've had, high school reunions that have come down, there's 6 ladies, 8 ladies, they rented a house, and they came into my shop and they said, we always come down here, we always rent the shop, we just have a party at the house. What I want to do is give a night of the community, so we're going to do a scavenger hunt, and you participate, which I thought was awesome. But if you go with option one, then they couldn't do that. They couldn't have a party in the house for all 8 of them that are being there, right? If you read that, you can't have a birthday party, you can't have whatever kind of party, special gathering. However, option two gives them the ability to do that as long as they don't exceed the maximum occupancy. Now, people will say to me, well, I live in the house next door, if I want to have a crab feast, which I have 50 people in my home for a crab feast in the backyard. Well, yeah, I do that once a year. If it's a short-term rental, that could be happening every weekend. It could be everybody that rented this one large piece of property could be having a gathering that exceeded the number of people that we normally allow to be there. That is disruptive to the neighborhood. So that's why I'm going with option 2.
All right, let's see if there's consensus on option 2. So we're on E. 2. Okay, so that all seems to have consensus. So we have a motion on the table to accept the SDR ordinance with, at 21 years of age on 10C and option 2 on E. Okay, so are you ready for a vote then, or is there any further discussion?
I was just wondering on the events thing, is it even a big impact? Does anybody know of any short-term rentals in town where they have large gatherings, like with a large lot, and it would just would dramatically impact their business? Whereas normal, right now, it's not really affecting the neighborhood. I just don't want to stifle business. I want to be neighborhood friendly, but at the same time, if somebody has, undue hardship because of this, I'm a little concerned. I'm torn.
So my rentals are too small to host an event. Nobody tries to host an event. I mean, they can't hold 2 people. But we also could have an option to strike entirely.
So I don't want to get rid of any kind of. I'm just suggesting that I don't know if the zoning office somehow could deal with extreme cases, like if somebody came to them and appeal, could they go to the zone board?
Well, see, that's a violation, isn't it? That's when the violation comes into play and 3 strikes you're out. Correct?
If it was validated, yes.
Yes. And so one of the things that, again, because we don't want to stifle business here in town, okay, it's almost ideal, okay, if we have this party, but only 12 can stay in the house. So they need to go rent a room at one of our hotel rooms. The extra people.
Yeah, so you're trying to say more to Mr. Mack's point where they can host a gathering, but only the number of occupants can actually stay in the home.
There are at least 2 venues in this town that could do exactly that. They could host a large gathering on the property itself, but have approximately 5 bedrooms in them, I think. That would only facilitate a smaller group than the property would facilitate.
Okay, so to Mr. Wood's point, I think, or Mr. Williams' point, I think there may be an option to entertain changing option 2 slightly to instead saying a creation of an event venue or hosting special gatherings is permitted so long as the number of participants and guests overnight meet the maximum occupancy standards.
Does not exceed the maximum occupancy.
That's what I said.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I don't know, actually, that really kind of makes me nervous, so I'm gonna
Okay.
backtrack on that.
Backtracking on this?
Just because I don't want 50 people next door to me, so I'm assuming most of the neighbors would want.
You still have to get an event permit.
And again, my point is that if I live in the house, I might have an event like that once a year, but if it's a short-term rental, there could be an event like that every weekend.
I'm just facilitating discussion here, so.
We would have to figure out a way to protect the neighborhood, the residents, because they're the primary tax. Live there full time, we want to make sure they're safe, so.
Mr. Dooley, do you have you look like you have something to say.
No, I'm trying to think this through. To Commissioner Allison's point, you could put some limitations, say that no more than 2 or 3 of these events can occur a year, but it does become an enforcement issue in terms of trying to validate how many such events occur on our property.
The whole ordinance is like that.
Everything's important.
Yes.
This is Dr. Love.
Yeah.
I would like, if I can,
Yeah.
get council's permission.
I keep forgetting you're on my
I'd like to
phone.
make another comment. And that would be, that this is intended to do, as, the councilman said, relative to, you know, if you plan to have an event, you own a short-term rental, these are people that are here at different times, there could be, as Mr. Dooley said, some limitation put on it. This was intended to say, we're not trying to stop you from enjoying that property as you're there with your 10 people, so that you could do small events. But the idea was, this is a single-family residential neighborhood, and that if a person wants to have an event, then they would do, as Councilwoman said, they would need to have that event at another location in town. Hopefully to generate business at other areas that might be able to host weddings and those types of parties, and still keep that single-family neighborhood limited with this flexibility to say if it's 10 or 12 or however many people can legally be on the property based on this ordinance, you can have an event, but not to bring more people.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a little bit of a what if scenario, Darla. What if the STR does not reside in a residential neighborhood? What if the SDR is in a C1 RC mixed-use neighborhood? And I can think of two possible locations that could happen, and that would not be disruptive because they're not in a residential neighborhood to begin with.
Right, and so there could be some more flexibility in those circumstances.
Okay.
If that's what you would like, if that's what council would like to write in ordinance.
What if we?
You know, there are options that would, I mean, you could have options that would allow, you know, if you're going to have one of these events, which is how, you know, staff was looking at the draft originally, that if you were going to have an event, regardless of the number of people were there, but that might be too strict, but if you were gonna have an event, then you would have to know that as a short-term rental, and you would have to come into planning to get a permit.
Okay, all right, so,
So many days prior to, so that the adjacent property owners could be notified that this is gonna happen. Again, in
all right,
residential.
what if we just entertained adding to option 2 after it says it's not permitted, adding if located in R1 or R2 zone?
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
You're saying
I
if
was
it's
for
in
that,
or
so-
C,
Yes.
Or C1.
then they can have as big a party as they want.
Okay, there's still law enforcement and public role and many other things in this,
Permit applications, right?
in permit applications, yes.
Special events.
Right, so that just protects the R1 and R2. Okay, am I seeing a motion to amend to add the, if located in R1 or R2 zoning? Feel like I got a motion to move it.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
It's not permitted in R1 or R2.
If located in R1 or
You don't
R2,
you
it's
don't have
not
to say
permitted.
if, look, you just say it's not permitted in R1 or R2.
Okay, got it, fine, same thing. All right, I got a motion, do I second to that amendment?
Second.
Okay. All right, so now how do you feel about that? Nay? Aye. Kenny?
Nay.
Okay.
Aye.
Where's that? Oh, 3 ayes. Okay, I had to count again, I apologize. All right, so now, bring this full circle again, am I right? We're talking about the ordinance as a whole,
So that passed.
that passed. We've got 21, we've got option 2 within R1 or R2 zoning. Are we ready to vote on that, or is there further discussion?
This is the whole ordinance we're
The
voting
whole
on?
ordinance.
I move that we vote on it.
Okay, it's been motioned, it's been
Okay.
seconded, so I'm ready to call for a vote if there's no more discussion. Good? Okay?
Aye.
Aye.
And I'm not voting, guys, so that was so much fun. All right. New business, resolution. Resolution 4023, the PPTRA. We're almost there, guys.
Yo, show up for sure. Is that it?
We only got one more thing, then we're gonna take a break. All right, Adam.
Before you is the, adoption of
All right, guys, can I have, is this room echoes bad enough as it is? Thank you.
Sorry, before you, is the adoption of the 2023 PPTRA for personal property. This is the state mandated program. We received $240,316.76 from the state every year. We then have to add in any vehicle that was abated by Westmoreland County that received PPTRA in the previous year. We had to take that money and add it back in. This past year, that amount was $15,815.29. The town then contributed $101.87 just to make it, easy to get to the rounding. That gives us a total PPTRA amount of $256,233.92. That was, contributed or sprinkled basically, but for all vehicles that were eligible to receive PPTRA. This gives us a tax relief rate of 30.205% for any eligible vehicle. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Mr. Wood?
No, I mean, Mr. Williams got a question.
Yes, a couple of questions. Adam had sent me, I believe the council was copied on this, a few questions about the values of the personal property, total assessments. I just kind of wanted to gauge what last year was versus this year. And it looks like it's about a little over 41 million last year and then 41,294 this year.
Yeah, so Westmoreland County last year told us.
It's
opposite, I'm sorry. Just a couple $100,000 more this year.
Yeah.
Less value, total value, correct.
Correct. Westmoreland County did tell us last year that they were expecting assessments to go down about 12%. And they did not, they only went down about 0.007%. So we budgeted off of 6% as a decrease, which gave us a expected personal property projection of $650,041.41.
Okay, and so, to piggyback on that, so you're estimating about 906,000, even though we budgeted 650, but that's at 100% collection rate.
Correct.
So what is our historical collection rate, and what are we projecting?
As of last year, without the abatements, including the abatements that we received from Westmoreland County, we were about 85%.
Okay.
Now, like I said, we have to take into account all those abatements that were done, because we billed the 15,000, but we didn't collect it, and you're having to write that off.
So, my question, I guess, is, considering that we're expecting probably more than we budgeted, I'm wondering if we could consider reducing or increasing the relief amount like we did last year so that it's not the dramatic increase for the taxpayers.
I'd like to address that. If we do receive additional revenue, at this point, we have a lot of projects that are underway that need to be done. I feel that any excess personal property can go toward all these projects that you as council have put on our agenda to get done that we don't have funding for. We have a lot of repairs that are being done now. The town center is one unexpected. We're eating up our capital improvements money. We don't have a lot of property left to sell to reestablish that. So I would feel that any excess revenue that we get this year over that budget should be put back into improving things in the town.
Appreciate
Another
it.
thing, can I add real quick? Even if, you all chose to add more money to the personal property tax relief amount, you're not going to affect a customer's bill dramatically. It's gonna make your PPTRA percentage better, but that's not gonna affect the average citizen dramatically. I mean, we're talking maybe $10.
How much are we expecting to collect?
85%.
85% of the 906,084 is
Less any other payments.
less any abatements, and I don't have a way to quantify that because in 2020, the previous year, Westmoreland County did $8,000 in abatements. This past year, they did 15. So I don't know if that number's gonna go down, gonna go up. It really matters on how well Westmoreland County does what they have to do.
Okay. Is there?
Just trying to figure out what that 85% is. Go ahead, does anybody else have anything else?
Yeah, I was just gonna see if there was any other discussion on the topic.
Yeah, I think, the idea of creating a rebate that maybe give people $10, it's not going to affect them. And it's equivalent to, has anybody ever heard the phrase eating your seed corn?
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we are doing. So the idea that we're a couple of bucks ahead and we automatically disperse it out is just foolish in my opinion.
It is.
Okay.
That little to each customer would help the town dramatically.
We're talking about 120,000 last year, the rebate last year, for the increased relief was like 147.
$146,000.
So we're talking about 20,000 difference. I mean, to me, it made a difference. I'm sure it did to the taxpayers. I understand the council's and the staff's advice, but I'm gonna make a motion. I'm sure it won't get a second, but that we increase the relief percentage amount to make up that 120,000.
Okay, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second?
A second, just for more discussion.
Okay, then that adds discussion. So now we can discuss that motion.
So what rate are you looking to increase this to? To take the full $120,000, or we cutting that in half, or what is your suggestion?
I'm suggesting the full 120,000. That's based off the 85% collection rate, which seems pretty reasonable to me.
There's no way, see, the problem is there's no way to guarantee that money. There just isn't. It's gonna matter whether people pay, whether people have the money to pay, how much is the abatement you've done by Westmoreland County. It's all fluid.
Okay, Mr. Schaefer, we're gonna see about a vote here.
Okay.
Okay, so is there any further discussion? I think the motion is to add the $120,000 in abatement pre-bill at this time. Okay, it's been seconded, so I'm gonna do a vote. Ms. Wood?
No to political grandstanding.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
Yes to political grandstanding.
I think you votes no. Y'all are a fun bunch. No. Okay, all right. Do I have a motion to establish then the PPTRA as presented? So moved. Do I need a motion?
We didn't do that.
No, that's been done.
So moved.
A second?
We started the discussion first.
Yeah, because there was a presentation. Yeah, is there a second for that? This is as presented. Okay, yes. I had nod from Wood, so I'll count that as a second. Any further discussion? I just want to say that I commend you, Mr. Williams, for trying to find that. And I worked really hard last year with the finance staff and, answered questions about trying to find a balance in that. And a big part of that discussion and adding to that PPTRA release date last year, as I recall it, was that two things were going on simultaneously. Number one, car values were skyrocketing. Used car values were just through the roof. And they have come down to this thing, $300,000 in assessment, and they've gotten a year older. So that's, we're seeing some level out, but they are still high. I agree with you on that. But the second part was we're still in a very intense COVID relief. And there was still a lot of need for those programs were still running very heavily, and we felt that there was still very big COVID aspect of that. When I calculated it out, I felt more comfortable at a $50,000 additional relief, which you all know because I emailed you that, which I felt like was a conservative way to build and still have relief. But all that would have done is discounted your bill 5 cents per $1. So I just wanted, so I don't know, I forget what my personal property tax bill is. It's higher because my boat's on it. Not the boat tax, the county gives the boat tax. Anyway, but 5 cents per $1 was what that came out to be. So just so there's some context to that, and I just appreciate the discussion of that. That's what it is. Okay, so that's all my discussion with it. Is there any further discussion? Okay, we're gonna vote for the PBTRA as presented.
No, that's right.
Like, I feel like you.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
You're in a
No.
Okay. Okay. I think now we're confused.
All right.
This side has got it together. All right. We're gonna take a little recess, but before that, I'm gonna motion to move into closed meeting. I think that the town council was trying to be in a closed meeting for the following purpose to discuss the following subjects, all of which is that Virginia law and public meeting requirements as indicated, namely pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-30, Section 11A1, for discussion of prospective candidates for appointment to a vacancy on town council. So moved. Have a second. All there. Okay, 10-minute recess. Oh, sorry.
We're supposed to have a discussion.
A discussion on the closed meeting motion?
Where are we going?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would just like to speak up and, actually, I would like to, amend the motion to hold it in open session.
Okay, making a motion to amend the motion to hold it in open session. Okay, is there a second to that motion? Okay, hearing none, the motion fails. Okay, and our motion. And now I'm gonna take up my recess. Thank you. I'm trying to get. All right, I am making a motion to reconvene an open meeting. So moved.
So moved, sorry.
Second.
All in favor? All right, is there a motion to certify that all public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion for which the closed meeting were convened were heard, discussed, or considered by the meeting. So moved.
Second.
Okay, now certification. I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify.
I so certify. Okay, so we have a motion to appoint Krista Brown to the vacant seat of Tom.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Okay. We'll take a vote. I'll vote this way. Mr. Ward?
Aye.
Aye. Do I have a motion to close the meeting? Second, all in favor, yay. Aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned at 9:00.